ourselves in the community based on this particular gospel and how it begins. Because I think, in many ways, we do things just the opposite, particularly in the Episcopal Church. Because frankly, we build beautiful buildings because we want to attract beautiful people, don't we? We want all of the right folks to come in. But this gospel gives us a different kind of message. So here's what I was thinking about. Welcome to the Church of St. Paul in the desert. All the sinners and tax collectors worship here. You are welcome too. Then I see I've got a short form of that. And the short form is just St. Paul in the desert. You know, it's kind of just our logo, our icon. All the sinners worship here. And then there's one to really, because I felt I wasn't getting quite the Episcopal experience in this. So this one, St. Paul in the desert, all the best sinners and tax collectors worship here. Right? All right? Have we got it? All the best sinners and tax collectors worship and eat at this table. Now, this story that we have is a story where Jesus is gathered around people, and it says that all the sinners and the tax collectors came to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes, the good upstanding folks, were grumbling. Why is he eating with them? And he tells them a story. Now that's verse 1 and 2. We skip ahead to verse 15 for the beginning of our lesson. But in between are two other stories. This is the third of a series of parables. The first parable is very familiar to you. It's the lost sheep. Leaving the 99, going and getting the one. And the next one is the lost coin. The woman tears the house apart until she finds it, and then she blows $20 on the celebration for the lost coin. And then finally, the lost sons. Okay. So, this is the third in a series, and at the end of each of the first two, it says, there is more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than all the rest who have no need of repentance. But the reading we had today doesn't end like that. It ends really a little bit on a sadder note. And I think, in many ways, it's instructive for us about what repentance and what redemption is really all about. Here's this young man who decides that he's going to ask for a distribution of the property. He's essentially saying, Father, I wish you were dead. Give me what's mine now, and I'll go and deal with it. And he goes off. Now, I want to ask you something. All of these parables are about lostness and foundness. Okay? The young man who goes off and spends all of the money on dissolute living, I love that. I was thinking of a vacation to be a dissolute liver, but I haven't figured out where to get to go for that. And some of you could tell me, but I haven't figured out where to go for that. But all of a sudden, he decides on a plan once the money runs out, once everything goes bad, and he decides, because he has an idea of the way things should work. And the idea that he has is much like the idea that we have. I've really blown it. I've got to get down on my knees. He's going to go back and he's going to say, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your well-fed hired hands. Can you think of him practicing that? All the way back? I know what I'm going to do. He's got a plan. Now, our church has about 19 different 12-step meetings that meet here. They're not ours, they just happen to meet here. And I don't, sometimes we tend to think of everything as having multiple steps. But this idea that he's got this plan, he's working out this program of getting back in order and everything. And that's the way we tend to do things. So here he goes on his way back to see his father, right? He's going to try out his plan. He's going to convince the old man to let him back in and feed him like one of the servants. But that's not how it works, is it? As he's still a long way off, his father sees him and runs out to him. And can you imagine this guy? Here he's busy trying to remember his routine. And his dad's hugging him and putting the coat on him and putting rings on his fingers and sandals on his shoes and everything on his feet. And he's trying to get it out. But his father's not listening. And the father then gets the fatted calf and kills it, and they have a celebration. There's a message in here about what redemption and what repentance is really like. This son has been found. Now I want to ask you, what is the absolute necessity in order to be found? What is absolutely necessary to have in order to be found? Yeah, you guys, it took 6 people last night at the Saturday service to get this thing. You have to be lost. The one thing you've got to have in order to be found is to be lost. You've got to know that you're lost. Now, when did the family know the son was lost? The family knew the son was lost as soon as he asked for a request that cut himself off from everybody in the family, right? When does the son figure out he's lost? When it's all gone. When it's all gone. And then, once he comes to himself, he begins his road back. Now, I'm going to shift here, and if I'm lucky, I'll get back to where I started here. But I'm going to shift to the epistle, because the epistle has some outrageous teaching that is incredibly dangerous for us to hear, but it relates to this story. Paul, and usually as soon as people in the church often begin reading about Paul, they immediately try to figure out if there's something in what they're reading that they're going to be angry about, without listening to what he has to say. But in this particular case, Paul has some outrageous things to say about repentance and redemption. Paul says that, I want to read it because I don't want to get it wrong.